This is One on One. You caught me talking to our guest off camera, but now you can catch him right now. He's Jeffrey Richards, Broadway producer. He's heading up the revival of Glengarry Glen Ross, starring Al Pacino, and also Bobby Cannavale, who you can check out in Boardwalk Empire. But this is going to be terrific. It's opening up at the Schoenfeld Theater?
We're in previews now in November. We open on Sunday, November 11th, and it's a great privilege to be working with Al Pacino. I think he's one of our great stage actors. He has always come back to the stage. He started on the stage in the 60s in a play called The Indian Wants the Bronx. He won Tony Awards for the basic training of Pavlo Hummel and Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie? And of course, he's done American Buffalo on stage. He did The Merchant of Venice a couple of years ago, which I was fortunate enough to produce. But he's one of those rare artists who comes back to Broadway and who does theater in New York. And theater is a richer place for it.
Enough about Pacino. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
You've got some background. You got some background. And you started out as a press agent.
Started out as a press agent in the 70s, and my first major show doing that was The Pajama Game, and about 30 years later plus, I produced it with the Roundabout Theater with Harry Connick and Kelly O'Hara.
But back up. Before you were a press agent in the 70s,
right,
you actually hung around on Broadway at a younger age.
Absolutely.
Your mom, Helen, was
She was a press agent and then a manager, so I was able to see a lot of theater when I was growing up. And one of the plays that I saw when I was growing up was, made an indelible impression on me, was Gore Vidal's The Best Man. And I presented it twice on Broadway. It was my first Broadway production. And we just did a production with the great Angela Lansbury and James Earl Jones this past year, which was very rewarding to do again during an election year.
Is that what we're looking at right now?
That's what you're looking at right now. Eric McCormick and John LaRoquette and Candice Bergen. It was a fantastic cast. It was my second time to work with Angela Lansbury.
So let me ask you this, Jeffrey. You make the transition from being a press agent to being a Broadway producer. Did you always know that that's what you wanted to do?
No, I fell into it by accident.
How?
I saw a little play in London that I fell in love with called The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged, and I recommended it to some producers in New York, and they weren't interested in doing it. And I went down to, it was then playing down at the McCarter Theater. I had seen it originally in London, and I went down.
McCarter Theater in Princeton, New Jersey.
Princeton, New Jersey.
We're from Jersey, so we have to plug Jersey every time
Absolutely.
we get
Well,
a chance to.
Really, I brought down 3 people, an agent and a producer, and 2 producers actually, and they both said that they were too busy with other projects, who weren't interested. And the agent, a gentleman named William Craver, said, "I'm going to sign the writers," and and I said, "I wish I brought more people down here to see it." And they said, "Well, you love it so much, why don't you do it?" So I pursued securing the rights for a year, and it was my first production back in 1995, but it was off Broadway.
Did you fall in love with the role of being a producer?
Well, I enjoy it. I also fell in love a little bit with being a publicist, and so I like them both. So it's a nice combination because I still do promotion.
But describe for people, because they hear the word producer and they don't know what it, sometimes it's hard to know what that means. What does it mean?
I don't think there's necessarily an easy answer, so I'll say from my point of view, I mean, everybody might approach it differently. You identify a project and you try and put the creative elements together in the project, and then you pray that it's all going to work out.
Let's take a step back. Porgy and Bess. We're going to show some video as we talk about
Right.
it. How do you make that happen?
Well, Porgy and Bess, actually, I produced a show called August Osage County, and we were starting our national tour in San Francisco, and this was the Pulitzer Prize winning play by Tracy Letts. Time out for a press plug. Tracy Letts just got the most extraordinary reviews doing the role of George in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, which got wonderful reviews. It's currently on Broadway at the Booth Theater. Anyway, I was in San Francisco.
By the way, look how you just morphed from one role to the other. It's just, it's seamless.
Right.
Go ahead. I marvel at that.
I was in San Francisco, and at the time, and I had spoken to the director of Hair, and I told Diane Paulus, I don't give you opening night gifts per se. I give you another project. And I gave her a play, and she said she wasn't interested in doing a play. She wanted to do a musical. So I had thought, how does Porgy and Bess appeal to you? And she said, that's a terrific idea. And in San Francisco, at the opening of August Osage County, I met Mike Strunsky, who was Ira Gershwin's nephew and who runs that side.
Oh, who are we looking at right there? We recognize her.
Oh, Audra McDonald, one of the great artists, and Norm Lewis. They were so brilliant. And we're going to be taking this around the country,
right.
Porgy and Bess. Anyway, so I spoke to Mike Strunsky, and he introduced me to the rest of the Gershwins. We had a meeting up in Boston about 8 months later. And Diane, you know, convinced them that she was the right person and that I was also the right person, but she artistically was the right person. She brought on board the great writer Susan Laurie Parks, the Pulitzer Prize winning playwright of Top Dog, Underdog. And then we did a workshop in New York with Audra McDonald and with Norm Lewis and David Allen Greer. Then we played up at the American Repertory Theater in Boston and came to New York last year and had a triumphantly received engagement.
Talk about your relationship, because you're doing a lot of name dropping, but good name dropping.
Thanks.
Right? And
okay.
Some people do it, and I'm like, why are you doing that? But you're talking about good people and doing good work together. Another name I'm going to drop on your end, David Mamet, the anarchist. Set it up.
David Mamet, this is his new play, The Anarchist. I talk very little about the content of David's plays. David's plays speak for themselves. As a matter of fact, it's unusual, but we never do a talk back for a David Mamet play. David wants the audience to grasp what he's doing and to talk about it among themselves, but have their own, what can I say, ideas about it. And so I kind of don't say too much about a Mamet play. I've done 7 of them. I think I've been fortunate. I think he's one of the great American playwrights. And, you know, he does it all. He's a director. He's directing The Anarchist. He directed the last play did on Broadway, which we introduced, which was A Race. And The Anarchist stars Deborah Winger and Patti LuPone. And I think they're both, I think Patti LuPone and Deborah are just fantastic. It's going to be an exciting evening of theater. And then, of course, we're doing a revival of Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, let's plug that again. Tell everyone where it is.
Is at the Schoenfeld Theater. The Anarchist is at the Golden, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is at the Booth.
Go back to Glengarry Glen Ross. For those who don't know, I mean, just the movie version is terrific as well.
Can I say something, though?
You can say anything you want.
We have something in the title, because I've done this 3 times in a row, but it's really Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. That is now the official title of the play, much like the Gershwins' Porgy and Bess, much like Gore Vidal's The Best Man. I asked David Mamet if he wanted his name before I play. Said no, just by David Mamet is fine.
I love it that you had to put that in there. By the way, for those of you who don't know what the whole premise of Glengarry Glen Ross is, just the little piece of it, the Chicago real estate office. Let's just say that they are a group of all guys.
Correct.
At the time, set in what period of time?
It's set in the 80s.
Let's just say they're fighting over, first place I think is a caddy.
Right.
Second place is steak knives. Third place, you're in trouble.
Oh, the third place should be first place. You get 2 tickets to see Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah. Here's the deal. It is worth going out to see, and it opens up on the 11th of November, and this show will be repeating, so it'll be out there for a while. And I want to thank you for joining us. You're a terrific guest. And,
thank you for having me.
You add a lot to the Lincoln Center studio.
Thank you. It's in my neighborhood. What can I say?
You add a lot to the neighborhood. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Steve.
We'll be right back here from the Tisch WNET studios right after this. Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Medical Center, Berkeley College, TD Bank, Qualcare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents, the law firm of Gibbons PC, and by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. and by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.